Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today on this. I know we're a pre-recorded call, but we're so happy to see everybody. And as you can see, welcome to our medieval gaming parlor. Cheers.
Cheers.
For those of you that don't know me, at school I'm Mrs. Watson and I teach art at the upper school. And this is my husband Jeff, who's graciously offered to help me out with this recording today.
Hi, how are you?
So we're going to be actually teaching you how to play a game. It's called Nine Men's Morris, and we'll go through sort of the history of the game today and how to play. We're going to show you a little bit about its origins and maybe show you actually a video recording of us playing the game so you get a little bit of a sense of strategy. But before we get into all of that, I'd like to take just a moment and sort of tell you how in the world the two of us started playing a medieval game. So if you'll bear with me for just a minute, we're going to sort of let our nerd flags fly just a little bit, and we'll tell you a little bit about some of our hobbies outside of the school. So I'm going to go ahead and start presenting now and show you a few images about the game, about the history, and about some of our hobbies. Okay, so again, we're talking about Nine Men's Morris, and we know that this is an ancient game, but it's still fun for our modern audience. So how in the world did we find this medieval game? So actually, my husband and I are members of a group called the Society for Creative Anachronism. And this is a group that strives to recreate basically the medieval time period and any history prior to the 17th century world. We sort of take the best parts of history and try to have a little bit of fun with them.
Yeah, there are lots of things that we get to do as we participate in the Society for Creative Anachronism. There's always events that we can go to, and we also participate in a lot of different medieval arts and crafts, such as embroidery, sewing, calligraphy, illumination and painting, woodworking, metalworking, glass blowing, gardening, music, brewing, you name it. There's lots of things to do.
There's so many opportunities. I grabbed a few photos just to kind of show you here so you can see Jeff and I sort of in all of our medieval garb. Of course, those are actual historical garments that I made. Jeff helped me to construct. The image next to it is actually our encampment. So sometimes when we attend these events, they're camping events or multi-day events. And so as you can see, sometimes it's a little bit of medieval glamping, if you will. I love to put my art skills to use. So you'll see here, this is actually a medieval scroll, so some calligraphy and illumination. That's how we give awards in the society.
If you can look over next to that, you can see me in the middle of a fencing bout, and I did happen to win that one. I do remember that. But yeah, so there are oftentimes fencing tournaments or martial tournaments for a lot of the participants to participate in as well.
That's true. And when we talk about martial activities, we're not just talking about fencing. I know Jeff and I both, we enjoy participating in traditional archery. Some people actually even heavy fight, so full suits of armor, absolutely beating the crap out of each other.
And throwing weapons as well.
Yeah, axe throwing,
so axe
spears,
throwing, knives throwing.
And actually, one of the wonderful things about the society is that they're very supportive of youth, and you can participate in most of these activities as somebody, as a kid. You can learn. They're very, they work very hard on sort of safety regulations and training people how to do these types of activities safely. So it's really great. It's a wonderful community for families as well. All right. So, obviously, right, when we're talking about all of that wonderful SCA, all of those wonderful history things that we participate in, one of the things that we do is we also, of course, look at medieval gaming, right, tabletop games in the history. And that's where Jeff and I first found Nine Men's Morris. So we know that Nine Men's Morris is actually quite a bit older. We think it's an ancient game. We know that they played it in ancient Rome and the medieval period. Nobody really knows exactly where the game originated. The oldest building that has a Nine Men's Morris board carved into its stones is actually an Egyptian temple in current Egypt, which dates to roughly 1400 BCE. However, it's not known if the game board was carved onto the temple when the temple was actually built or if it was carved a little bit later. But we do see, regardless, we see Nine Men's Morris boards carved in all kinds of historical buildings, all the way through the Roman Empire, even in like medieval cathedrals. It's been popular for quite some time.
And though the game is quite old, we also know that it was probably most popular in Europe during the 14th century and played throughout the world in various forms. You can even see here there is an illumination of a group of people playing Nine Men's Morris that actually came from the Libro de los Juegos commissioned by Alfonso X of Castile from 1283 in Spain. So we know that it was all the rage out in Europe in the medieval times.
And for those of you that are Shakespeare aficionados, I know our 7th graders read A Midsummer Night's Dream. The game is actually mentioned in A Midsummer Night's Dream. In Act 2, Scene 1, Titania refers to the board being flooded up with mud. So we do know at various times that this was even adapted as a lawn game, so something you could play outside. We think actually though that Shakespeare is probably the person that gave it the name Nine Men's Morris. Before that, it might have been known as maybe mill or windmill because of the shape of the board. We'll also talk about what mills are in just a second when we get playing. Maybe merrills, because that's what we call the gaming pieces. So it's been known by a bunch of different names, but we know that by Shakespeare's time that he was calling it Nine Men's Morris.
So the game may be quite a bit older than we are, but we still think it's a really great game for modern times. And it's one of those games where it's sort of a step up from checkers or something like tic-tac-toe, but maybe not quite as difficult as something like chess. So it's really great for kids of a younger age too, for them to be able to do something that's a little bit different than what we would normally do. The board is really easy to construct, and as you can see, the basic shape over here on the right, it can be drawn on a piece of paper or any other sort of a surface, and even in the resources, we have a printable copy for you to use. And then all you need is a few gaming pieces that you can certainly scavenge from things around the house. Pennies or nickels make great pieces, but really sort of anything that can sort of be used to sort of help make the game come alive for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think it's a really wonderful way to flex your creativity, right? You can draw a really simple game board on a piece of paper. I've also seen people paint them or carve them into wood or create really just various different ways to make really lovely boards. So you could certainly make your own lovely board. I'm going to show you just a couple of resources. So we will, in just a second, be cutting to a video of Jeff and I actually playing the game, again, where you'll get to see how it works just a little bit and some strategy. Remember that we've also posted a handout with a complete set of rules.
And then finally, if you are interested in any of the medieval reenactment things that we mentioned earlier, you can certainly visit the website www.sca.org. You can see all about the things and activities that are available for you.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much. And let us get down to playing this game.
All right, you ready to lose?
I guess I'm ready to lose, yes.
Okay, everybody, welcome to our game. So as you can see here, we've actually, a friend of ours made this board for us, but it's really just, it's a cloth napkin, and they used a paint marker to draw the basic shape of the board, and then they painted, you know, one of our medieval logos here in the center. But we've actually made them as gifts for friends and family, like for holidays. So you can very easily make a wonderful personalized board just on, again, on a cloth napkin with some paint markers, and it makes a really great gift. For our pieces, so these are our merrills, and these are our pieces. What we're going to be using today is just some wooden pieces that we've painted some solid colors. So I'm going to be playing with white. Jeff is going to be playing with green. All right. And what we're going to try to do today is teach you a little bit about the game and also sort of show you some different scenarios that can happen. Jeff and I can get ourselves in a predicament where we have a stalemate. So we're going to try to avoid that today so that you really get a chance to see sort of all of the different rules of the game in practice. All right, so the beginning of the game, we start by placing our pieces, right?
Right, so there are 3 basic phases to the game. And so the first phase of the game is where you place all 9 of your pieces on the board. Now the object of the game is to try to get 3 of your pieces or merrills in a row, either horizontally or vertically. So, and when you do that, that's called creating a mill, which is why it's sometimes referred to as mills.
Got it? Okay.
So,
and you do this in a turn base. So for example, I'm going to take one of my pieces and I'm going to place it. Jeff will now have a turn to place one of his pieces. Okay. I'm going to place a second piece.
and now I'm gonna block her from making her mill, because if she creates the mill, she can take off any one of my pieces on the board that's not already in a mill.
So he placed his piece here to block me. Now it's my turn to continue placing. I'm gonna jump down here, I think. Okay, I'm now gonna take my piece and I'm gonna block his mill here. Okay, now I'm playing defensively. I've gotta block him again here as well.
And I have to block you right here.
Okay, where to now? I'm gonna go, I'll go here.
Okay. I'm gonna now create a mill.
Oh, I missed it.
And I'm gonna take off one of her pieces. So I'm gonna take this one.
Ugh, okay. But now, thankfully, I can create a mill.
And I missed that one.
And now I can remove one of his pieces. Now I can't remove one of these three because they're actively locked in a mill. But I can remove any of these others that I like. Because he's close to getting a mill over here, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this piece. And that, by the way, once you remove that piece, the piece is dead for the rest of the game.
For the rest of the game, cannot be used.
But now it's Jeff's turn to continue placing his pieces. Okay, obviously he's getting close, so I'm gonna block him. Jeff just placed his, you've got, okay. I have one more piece, so I'm about to place my last piece. I guess I'm gonna go over here.
Okay, and then I'm gonna go right. Yeah, I'm gonna go there. Okay.
Okay, great. So that completes the first phase of the game, which is simply just placing your pieces.
Yep. Now, the second phase of the game is really simple. You're going to take any of your pieces that you have and you can move them to any adjacent dot. So you can't jump anywhere on the board, but it has to be immediately next to where your pieces happen to be.
As long as it's connected, then you can make that transition. And ultimately what you're trying to do in this phase of the game is, again, continue to create those mills, right? Shift around your pieces, because it's by creating those mills that I can then remove Jeff's pieces from the board.
And we're trying to get the opposite player down to only 2 pieces left. Once they're down to 2 pieces left, they can't create any mills, so therefore they lose.
Okay, so I'm gonna start by moving some pieces. All right, so if you'll notice, these are all locked in. I can't go anywhere with these pieces. I could move this piece, but if I move this piece, guess what he's going to immediately do? So that's not a great move. But these are pretty trapped. So really, I can only move these 2 pieces. Well, my odds of him making a mill are a little bit lower if I go here, so I'm gonna go here.
And I'm taking this one that's currently in a mill, and I'm gonna move him out.
You'll understand why he's doing that in a minute. It sucks. Okay, Don't have a very good move here. So I'm gonna come over, I'll move to this piece.
And I'm gonna take this one and move it back into my mill.
So he just created a mill again, which means he gets to take away one of my pieces.
So I'm gonna take this one.
Of course you are. I'm in a pretty rough predicament because I don't have the ability to move in and out of my mills right now. So he's definitely beating me. All right, again, the only few pieces that I can move are maybe this one and my other corner.
Nope. I mean, it's a safe bet. I hate to do it, but it's a safe bet.
He's gonna play dirty, so I'm gonna lose pretty quickly here. He's got a better setup than I. So again, I'll move here.
I think I'm gonna come back.
He's gonna move back into his mill, which means he gets to move another one of my pieces off the board. This is not going well. All right, unfortunately, literally now the only move that I have left is to move this piece. So I'm gonna have to move that piece, which means he's gonna make yet another mill. So now I'm gonna lose that piece. And I think actually that could be the game in this case.
No, you've got to move.
Oh no, I do have a legal move. Okay, so I can move my piece out of a mill. This will actually help me.
And
I
now
just realized
I'm going
this.
to move a piece out.
Okay. Now I can move my piece back in.
Oh, yep, you can.
And guess what I get to do? I can pull a piece from one of his, I can take one of his pieces away. Now again, I can't take anything from this mill because it's still active, but because he moved one out over here, I'm gonna steal this piece.
Oh, darn it. Okay. I'm going to move this piece here.
I see what you're doing there. This is not gonna go well, right? Because next round he can create this mill. But unfortunately, the only legal move I have right now is to bust up my mill. So here it goes. Okay, he made one. Yep, and I lost that mill. Crud. Okay. Well, again, my only legal move right now. So I'm gonna move.
And I'm gonna do this.
Okay. I'm gonna do this.
Now, I'm getting myself set up where when I move this piece, I've created the mill here, so I can remove a piece. I really should take this one.
You jerk.
Okay, now here's the last phase of the game. She is down to 3 pieces left, so she is no longer bound to move to an adjacent spot. She can pick up a piece and move it anywhere on the board that she wants to move it.
Exactly. So because I'm down to 3 pieces, and this sort of is nice because it levels the playing field if somebody's way far ahead.
Right.
So I can now move one of my pieces anywhere on the board I want. So for example, if I were to pick this piece up and I were to fly it over here, I've created a mill and I can remove one of his pieces. Now I can't remove any of these because they're in a mill, and I can't remove any of these because they're in a mill. But these two are fair game, right? So which one? I'm gonna take this one.
Okay.
So now it's Jeff's turn.
I think this is gonna do it.
I think so. So unfortunately, my only legal move right now is to bust up this mill. Now, I would normally just move out and try to move back in next round. But because I have my 3-piece rule, what I can do is pick up one of my pieces and fly it over here and at least block him from being able to make that mill again.
This is not good.
Okay, my turn again. I'm gonna fly back over. And at this point again, I can take another one of his pieces. So I'm gonna take this guy. Okay, I've gotta fly over here and block him here. Oh no, I can't fly back in. Foiled. Okay. Well, not too much I can do, right?
Okay. Well, that's not good. That's not fair.
Again, the 3-piece rule really can help the underdog quite a bit sometimes. So I'm gonna fly back in here. I can remove one of his pieces. Take this one.
And I will take this
no.
one here.
And of course, now I'm down to 2 pieces, which unfortunately means I lose the game. But I did hold on for quite a little time.
That was good.
There.
That was good. I thought I was going to have you much earlier.
You started off definitely whooping me. So thank you for letting me. I came back there at the end a little bit.
You did.
So redeemed myself.
But that's it. That's the basic gameplay. There's only 3 rounds that you have to worry about. Place all of your pieces on the board, taking turns. And then you can start moving them to adjacent places on the board. And then when you get down to 3 pieces, you can then fly them anywhere you want to on the board. And then all you're looking to do is try to make 3 in a row so that you can remove a person's piece.
And get your opponent down to 2 pieces to then win the game.
So.
All right, well, thanks everybody so much for joining us and learning this ancient game. Hopefully you're able to incorporate it into your modern lives. Have a wonderful, wonderful Passover break, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.